All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know why you're here. I know why we're here. We all know why we're here. It's been a long wait, and it's finally happened. The return of Friday Night WrestleCast. We are back. Oh, and someone else came back after a long wait as well, but we'll get into that in a second. Before we do, I just wanted to say hi. My name is Ricardo Negron. Today I'm going to be hosting for tonight's show. I'm here with my co-pilot, Miss Dana Abercrombie. How you doing?
Hello, doing great. Excited, Brian.
And of course, we have the man who is the most excited about tonight's events than anyone that I know, and Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. How you doing?
Doing pretty good, Ricky and Dana. I hope everybody is enjoying wrestling this weekend.
Oh yeah, there's a whole lot. We got a whole lot to get into, but first let's get into what we're all here for. We're going to talk about CM Punk returning to pro wrestling tonight on AEW Rampage. Huge return, big pop in front of the home fans. There's just so much to get into. I'm still, as my name says, I'm still in shock that after 7 years that it's finally happened, that he's finally returned to professional wrestling. I'm excited about it. You know, I have there's an image there, him just kind of soaking up the atmosphere. Just an incredible moment. I have my shirt that I've had for like the last 10 years, the best in the world. He played a big role in me going back into watching pro wrestling. So I think this was a night that impacted a lot of people. So I wanted to open the discussion to you guys to kind of share your thoughts on what happened tonight. So who wants to go first?
Dana.
Okay, we're gonna just volunteer. Sure. Fine. Just put me on the spot. No, this. I think like everyone else, I didn't believe it was gonna happen, but I kind of wish that it did happen. And we all know, it started about a month ago or so, where we kind of heard the reports trickling in that CM Punk signed to AEW, and it was like, oh, okay, all right, sure. This is something we kind of was looking forward to since the beginning of AEW, but it never just happened at all. And when we thought he was going to return back to WWE, and that never happened. And then he kind of went off and did the comic book writing. He did acting. Really not bad at the acting at all. And so actually seeing this, it felt like a very surreal moment. Where it was like we planned this for so long. I know for me, I had snacks just ready just in case, and he actually came, but it still didn't feel real until he actually came out. And then you saw him on the TV, and I was like, oh my God, just a whole bunch of bottled emotions of just pure happiness. And it's not like the fact that, CM Punk is here to save wrestling as a whole, or this is like the beginning of greatness or anything like that. It's just the journey itself that he's been on, and the journey that fans have been on, that they really, you're hanging on for this moment for 7 years. These are diehard fans who we know throughout the years. They chanted CM Punk in the most, inappropriate times to do it. They've chanted it when they was happy. They chanted it in Chicago when people expected them to. So that's how strong of a passion that people have for CM Punk, where they're still holding on to that hope that he would return. And to see him actually there, and to see the emotion that he had when he returned, he stepped out. And, as you saw in the image, he fell to his knees. And you could see him just wanting to cry. And he jumped into the crowd. And he's hugging and kissing on people and high-fiving them. And it looked like a fan actually returned back to doing what he loved to do. And it just felt like this was a really great moment for everyone involved. And it finally happened. It never thought it would, but we're getting him, and he's in the company. He said, I'm back. So, yay to that. I'm kind of really speechless because I'm still processing that the fact that he's here. So yeah, I see you twirling your beard.
Yes, speechless. That's an interesting word for this situation. Okay, you want me to go next?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so let me say this first and foremost. I do recall the moment when CM Punk cut the infamous pipe bomb promo, and I believe I sent this promo to you, Ricky, and I said, you need to check this out, because that promo made me feel something. It felt like he was saying exactly how he felt, went off script, and that is that moment. From that moment onward, it felt like he got a lot more attention in WWE, and being able to consider somebody that can actually go after a world titles, so on and so forth, because he was in his feud with Cena, so all that stuff. So obviously, I feel that is a big reason why a lot more people got into CM Punk. They were already into him from what he did on the indie scene with Ring of Honor and stuff like that. So when he made his return tonight, first and foremost, I want to say this. This is one of the worst kept secrets in all of professional wrestling, because AEW has been teasing every single week. They've been teasing, saying little Easter eggs, things that CM Punk would say from promos, so on and so forth. So you knew the guy was coming. And then, of course, Tony Khan, who literally hypes up everything, gets on social media yesterday and says, oh, yeah, he was hyping up tonight. So, I mean, we knew for sure he was coming. That wasn't a surprise. What was good, what was great about it was the reaction he got from the fans. Because, again, this is a guy who hasn't been wrestling for 7 years. He did have his attempt to do MMA and had some issues with that, which is totally fine, because there's a lot of athletes that go to another sport and they don't quite have as much success as they had with wrestling. And I felt like when he went to MMA, everybody was wondering, well, when is he going to go back to wrestling? We all figured maybe he may eventually go back to WWE. But after all of the horrible stuff that happened at WWE when his time was up at the company, I totally understand why he wouldn't go back to WWE. So seeing him make a return tonight, I thought it was great. It's a great win for AEW. I think people will look at this, and obviously, as you alluded to, Dana, yes, he's coming back to something that he loved to do. This is what this is about. It's not about him coming back and then you're expecting him to be one of the greatest performers in all of AEW. Yes, he obviously knows how to cut a promo, and I think that he definitely is going to be one of the top guys for doing that in AEW, no doubt about that. But it's about him coming back and giving back to the business that he loves, which is why I say I have respect for that. I will, however, say we also know that Daniel Bryan is there's been rumors that he is also going to AEW. I do hope that there is a day that will come where AEW does not have to constantly bring over people that have had a tremendous amount of success in WWE, and then they come over to AEW. Now, obviously, if you are in a position to get a highly coveted free agent, you 100% should do that. That's why I think it was a fantastic business decision to bring him in, 100%. But yeah, I'm just very curious to see what he brings to the product. And I will also add, this is my last point. The timing is perfect because he's on the show Heels, which is on Stars. It's like this just if he was ever going to come back, this is the time to do it, because he has exposure not just from what he's doing in AEW, but also the TV show as well, and that's going to get that show a bigger audience as well. So it works on multiple fronts. If he wants to get into acting and doing more acting, he's going to get a lot of opportunities from all of this stuff. So yes, excellent timing, and I'm just curious to see what they do with him while he's working in AEW, because he has full creative control over anything he does. So it should be a lot of fun to watch, no doubt about that.
Thanks. I'm glad you brought up the timing, because that was one of the points that I wanted to make, is that the timing had to be perfect for him to make this return, and it was kind of a perfect storm as far as All Out being in Chicago. You had Rampage, one of the first shows of Rampage. I believe this is the second show of Rampage in Chicago. It's the first time at the United Center for AEW. That's why it was called the First Dance. I know Dana gave me flack for up on that earlier. But with Punk, the bigger thing is that, you know, he left WWE. He left a lucrative job because he wasn't in love with it anymore. And it was going to take something like AEW coming into existence for him to get back into the fold. And people for years have wanted him to return to wrestling, and there wasn't really much out there as far as alternatives for him to do. There wasn't much competition for WWE, at least here in North America. AEW is that now. And with Punk is like, he's the biggest Impact signing that they had since John Moxley, when he came out, and everyone was just like, holy cow, you know. Punk arguably will have an even bigger impact there. You know, it's this thing now where, think of it in terms of like, and maybe I don't know if this analogy fits or not, but like, you know, look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Once Tom Brady came in, you had this winner come in and kind of change the culture there and draw in people that otherwise wouldn't have gone to Tampa Bay. Now, I'm not saying that the culture wasn't already a winning culture in AEW. It's just that someone like CM Punk is a huge beacon of light for the whole wrestling community. And there's going to be all kinds of wrestlers who are going to want to work with him. And if you want to work with him, you got to go to AEW now. So this could have a lasting impact in the wrestling industry for years to come. I mean, we'll need to see for how long Punk does this. But right now, he's definitely got everyone talking as we are at this moment. But it's just amazing. What are you going to say, Rich?
I just want to piggyback on that really quickly. And I feel the exact same thing will apply when Daniel Bryan, when it's confirmed that he's over there as well. Because there's a lot of people that wanted to work with Daniel Bryan.
Oh, yeah.
And so go ahead, Dana.
You're also forgetting the fact that the Forbidden Door. Remember, it's literally all of the wrestling companies are interacting with each other aside from WWE. They're on their own little island. So, you know, that was one of the reasons why Daniel Bryan reportedly signed with AEW, was because he would have the opportunity to go over to do New Japan. He can go and do cross promotions, and you can bring guys in from other promotions to work with Punk as well. So it's not necessarily, everyone can jump and sign on to AEW. It's the fact that AEW is opening the door to everyone, and you don't have to be signed to AEW. You can be. We had plenty of indie wrestlers. If you look at, you know, Eddie Kingston, for one of the bigger parts, the fans kind of forced the hand of him getting signed. What was the 2.0 just got signed, I think, yesterday? No?
Let's not talk about 2.0. The jobbers of NXT now in AEW.
Yeah, but you look at Everrise and all of them, you see how wonderful that happened. And that was just because of the fans are backing them. You look at Fuego, the fans, even though you may say, oh, that part was a work, maybe, but you can't work something in unless you have fans backing you, unless you're just forcing wrestlers down people's throats, and that's more of a turnoff. So, yeah, it's an opportunity to work with everyone now that you don't have to even sign to AEW unless you want to.
Yeah.
I think it's a wonderful thing seeing, AEW working, with NWA, working with Impact, working with New Japan, because it's like, yeah, in some ways they're competition, but they can make each other better by working together, because now you've increased the talent pool. And instead of hogging it all and having to make separate brands just to put them all on display, and you still don't know how to use them. It's like this whole thing of we got people who came in from NWA showing up on Dynamite that I had never heard of. Like Thunder Rosa, I hadn't heard of her until she appeared, and she was like, "Oh, the NWA Women's Champion. She must be a big deal." Things like that, and and like Kenny Omega being the AEW champion and appearing on Impact. I tuned into Impact for the first time since the final deletion, it's just like the rest when the ones that when Cody and Kenny and the Bucks and all that talk about creating AEW and trying to changing the world, they weren't kidding. We're starting to see little by little the impact that they're having on the industry. And unfortunately, like as you guys mentioned, WWE is kind of in their own island by their own choosing. They want to just pretend like they're the only show. And it's really too bad because like one of my dream matches that we're probably never going to see is Randy Orton against Okada. Like I think they're two very similar styles, and it would just be really great to see them together, but we're just not going to see that as long as Orton.
You might see it.
If Orton leaves WWE for AEW in the future, I'm sure, but otherwise,
yeah. Oh no, the WWE is in a lot of trouble. Don't let them fool people to let them know. Everyone think, oh, WWE is totally fine. No, they're in trouble. It's coming. You saw it with the cuts of people that should not have gotten cut, and then they just say, oh, well, this is a budget, it's a budget issue. Yeah, okay, because they're trying to sell the company. But I think the people who are in power right now, Nick Khan, shout out to Mr. Nick Khan, the president of WWE. This is the guy that's running the company into the ground with the blessing of Vince McMahon. So it's going to continue to get worse because I like I said, we didn't record a show for a while, but I will say I still am very angry about what happened with Bray Wyatt. That was one of my favorites in WWE, and when I saw that, I was like, okay, now I'm done, But we'll get into WWE later. But continue.
We'll get into it later, but I'm gonna still throw that theory out there. He's not fired.
I can buy into that because again, he's still on Twitter with the Bray Wyatt name. A lot of these
Thank you.
Are released.
I saw that.
Like as soon as they're released, they change their name to their real name or their other gimmick or whatever. He's keeping the Bray Wyatt name, so I think it's that he's being repackaged or he's going to be re-signed to a smaller deal. It's something like that. I think we'll see him in WWE again in pretty short order. That's so I totally buy into that. As far as WWE being in trouble, I think that maybe from a quality standpoint, that's true. But they as a company will survive because someone will throw money at them and buy all their assets and continue it on. And it will still be the biggest wrestling promotion in the world. Nothing's going to stop that.
I still don't see they're selling. I don't think they're selling.
But whether they sell to Disney or whoever, they're still
USA, NBC.
And so.
Well, I'm apologize now, Dana. I don't know if you have any contacts over at NBC, but Peacock is trash. So maybe they do need to sell to them so that they actually have a reason to watch Peacock.
That's going to have to answer this.
Stay tuned to the Koalition.com as we'll be breaking down all the SummerSlam schedule. And by Peacock. Thanks, Richard.
We know which part of this show that Dana's going to be editing out, so that's
we'll see. We will censor that out. Continue.
But I do want us to kind of move along because we do have two great shows that we want to do predictions for.
Great.
I mean,
okay.
Potentially great.
Yeah.
It's the biggest weekend of the year, of the summer for wrestling. But before we get into that, Just want to see if you guys had any last thoughts on CM Punk before we continue on.
Just really quickly, because they did have a press conference, and so the people were taking notes. This is something, well, CM Punk obviously spoke, and he says that he sees himself as a AEW guy. He will still do his commentary, because remember, he does commentary for UFC. He will still do that, but he's done with that UFC let's go and fight world. He said he is exclusively to AEW. He's very excited. He's very happy. He was not hiding in the back. They did not have him secluded backstage from the other wrestlers. He spoke to the other wrestlers that he had grievances with in the past. They had a huge hashing out situation where he apologized to them. You know the stories, Richard. I see your face.
I'm curious to know who are all the wrestlers. I thought it was only one person. It's multiple people.
No, there's multiple people. Remember, there was the whole thing where it was like he was not loved backstage. He was kept to himself. He didn't interact with anyone. Remember, they had to come in and get the Undertaker and do the court situation. So, yeah, so he spoke to them, you know, and even when you watch the promo, it felt really honest. And he was apologizing. He said, if you was turned off by my behavior for the past 7 years, I apologize.
Very smart.
Mm-hmm. Very smart, because I know that there was a lot of complaints. You, of course, was like, I'm not watching this. So he apologized for his behavior with that. Again, he's looking forward to working with, he listed a number of talent in AEW. He wants to also be there and to mentor and to just guide the next generation. He is someone who's going to be like, give me the belt. You know, like we see John Cena or Goldberg who just randomly come in, you know, and was like, I'm the champion, and then they leave. He said he does not want to do that. He's not really looking up for a belt or a title. He's there just to wrestle. He's there to be in that environment. I see your face again. Let him breathe. They just got to the company.
So let me just say this. I'm not going to cut you off, but it's very good to have that mindset coming in. But let's just remember, Jon Moxley, AEW champion, Miro
had to work for that. Miro had to work for that because remember, his whole thing, his gimmick flopped.
Yeah, and it's the same gimmick now. So, yeah,
we can tell who doesn't watch AEW.
Yeah, it's the same,
you can tell who does not watch AEW.
The same finishing move, the same, you know, tough guy. Yeah, but continue.
It's not the same. He says that, like I said about the commentary, he was able to do that as well. He said that he's under an agreement with AEW, and that he hopes that he's there for a long time. He's not looking to leave, and like this is a 1-year thing.
Yeah.
So he's really hoping for that to happen. He's really excited to work with Sting. He wished that he worked with Sting during his prime. He also said Jungle Boy, Kenny Omega, Young Bucks are people that he really wants to work with and that he's excited about. He says that he has his ice cream bar. It's melting. But he has his ice cream bar and that he's going to be eating all of the ice cream bars because he's really excited. They gave him his own ice cream bar about this. Yeah, that's just like basically, you know, he said that it was the worst kept secret by design. They purposely teased out CM Punk was going to be there because he wanted to know, you know, that anticipation, if he still kind of had it, if people were still excited for it. So that's why they didn't outright say, hey, CM Punk is here. They just teased it with Best in the World and, you know, the monologues that they gave. And remember when they did the pipe bomb with MJF? And he did it word for word of what CM Punk did.
Yep.
So they purposely did that. He says that what really got him to sign was the fact that the roster and people around AEW didn't say anything about Brody Lee's illness. So that to them was like, it was representative of a really strong family. You know, because it never leaked out. It wasn't until the wife said what happened. Yeah. That we even found out how he died. So he said that was one of the reasons that made a big impression on him. And that he also said that AEW doesn't have anything to prove to him. It was more about him being open. He wanted to dip his toes. Remember when he was in WWE backstage? he wanted to dip his toes back into wrestling. He did not want to sign with WWE, and it was actually Renee Young, or Renee, what is she now? Paquette? I forgot, but Renee
Paquette.
Young. Yeah, John Moxley's wife. Basically, she was the one who fully convinced him to come back.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you also seen, she re-uploaded an interview that she did with him from a couple months ago on her site. So that was kind of like the conversation was also the driving force behind that. And that, yeah, he said the ice cream bars were his idea. So him wanting the ice cream bars, the AEW ice cream bars, was all him. It was not Tony Khan or anyone else. So yeah, that's mainly everything. So we have to just stay tuned for how long Punk will be in AEW. He didn't say, but he doesn't have any plans on leaving.
Yeah.
So yay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rich.
The only thing I will say, because I do want to get to the other stuff. Yeah, like I said, I look forward to seeing how he's utilized in AEW. I think it's very interesting that they already have him going up against Darby Allin at the pay-per-view, because we know that Darby Allin is over. So this is definitely going to get Darby Allin even more over now that he's involved in this match. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how he's utilized in the company. So,
yeah, thanks for bringing that up also, because that was one thing I wanted to touch upon real quickly before we move on, is that as I mentioned, 7 years away from the ring is a long time to be away, and there's bound to be a lot of ring rust on him. So it's going to be fascinating to see how he looks in his first match back, and just to really observe his performances, going forward, and who he works with and everything. But just like you guys, I'm just excited to have him back in the fold, and everything. So the possibilities are endless. So should be great stuff there. All right. We're gonna move on. So we're gonna go, even though this show is happening on Sunday, it's really supposed to be the appetizer. NXT Takeover 36.
Yeah, the main
We're going to
event.
go with the predictions, but before we go into predictions, real quickly, I just have to say that NXT, you guys need to be ashamed of yourself for what you're doing to my boy. I can't believe I'm already forgetting his name. That's how bad this is. Dexter Loomis.
He has a new name now.
What's that?
Dexter Lame Ass.
Oh my God.
Yes, we talked about this in the chat. Because they made this guy into they got him in this love storyline with Indy Hartwell, and listen, Indy Hartwell and what she's doing with the way, that's cool. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for Johnny Gargano. Shout out to his wife, Candice LeRae. They're having a kid soon. But I do not like this. This whole thing with them adding comedy to NXT. This is why I say the show is not good anymore, because USA. Ever since they got brought to USA, I'm pretty sure Vince took a deeper look at the product and said, you know what, we need to add more writers. We need to make this more of an appealing product. And that's what the problem is now, because too much comedy, too much unnecessary stuff on the show.
Pretty much my thoughts is that it's like they really went deep into the whole sports entertainment aspect of it and went away from what made NXT appealing while it was on the WWE Network, is that you had a few skits here and there, but mostly it was just about the action. It was about the wrestling, about the storylines, the feuds and all that stuff. You get all this other garbage. It's not appealing. It's like watching Raw. So I don't know if Dana, you had anything to chime in with in regards to that.
I think Dana has retired from NXT.
Okay.
So No, I haven't retired. I just, I think that, what really hurt them was the fact that they became, another show. I mean, remember NXT used to be the developmental, so we would go and watch them grow, and the matches were exciting, and we didn't have all the kind of the silliness that we see now. It kind of separated itself from the other two shows, which was something that was refreshing. And remember, it was just an hour, so it was a nice little bite size. And then we had that hour, and then we just went on with the rest of our lives. But now it's just become more of a spectacle, and it added things that we don't need. And we all know they made that announcement, was it last year, that they hired way more writers, and they turned it more into a production instead of it being a developmental for a lot of these rising stars. And then they started doing crossovers with, Raw and SmackDown wrestlers, and it just kind of became confusing, and it lost that WWE special, that NXT uniqueness and specialness. When you have other people from other shows coming in and getting the belt. So it just was weird.
Yeah. And can I say one final thing before you start the predictions, or before you say what you finish your point? I want to give a special shout out to Triple H, because he had an interview the other day, and I was very angry with the comments that he made when he basically said, "Oh, we haven't done anything about our hiring practices in regards to the talent." That is a bunch of BS, because when they was hoarding all of the indie talent, people like Adam Cole, all this other stuff, that clearly was to prevent them from going to other promotions. So for him to say, "Oh, our practices haven't changed at all," that's BS. Because now they're trying to change this into a whole thing where we want the big guys, not the small guys, the big guys that can become superstars and stuff like that. So that him having that response is just completely ridiculous.
Well, it was not just; it was also they wanted guys under 30.
So,
which is really interesting, because if you look at other promotions, not just AEW, if you look at other promotions, there are guys that are over 30 and they're making it in their career, and they're just as popular as other ones. If you look at people like, just for example, Jungle Boy would never exist.
Yeah.
Marco Stunt would never exist. Just Darby Allin would never exist. It was just, I really don't.
Guevara, all kinds of things. So
Fuego, all of them, they would never exist.
But look at the bright side, Dana and Ricky. Odyssey Jones is going to be a star, right? This is supposed to be the I guess the answer to Keith Lee on NXT.
Yeah, we'll see about that. We'll definitely see about that. But I wanted to bring that all up because while the quality of NXT's weekly show has kind of taken a nosedive from what I remember from the network, their takeovers sometimes make up for it. And so we go into this takeover with hopes that it will take some of the stench off what we've been watching on TV recently. So without further ado, let's get right into these matches. So I'm going to start with the pre-show match of Trey Baxter versus Ridge Holland. Real quickly, I'm not too familiar with Trey Baxter, so I'm going with Ridge Holland to win this. I'm glad that he's back from his injury, and he seems like a legit big guy and everything. So I'll go with Ridge Holland. I don't know, Dana, who are you going with?
I'm gonna actually go with Baxter. But a simple fact, he came back. He came back from his injury. I think people are looking to see what more he could do, and I want him to win.
So Trey Baxter's who are you going with? Okay. How about you, Rich?
100% Ridge Holland, because right now they're starting a feud. Him and Pete Dunne starting a feud with Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher. So for that to continue, he has to get momentum. So I think he's going to win that match.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I agree. Dana's going against the grain.
Going against the grain. I mean, what you said makes sense, but in this
it wouldn't be fun
now,
if we all agreed all the time,
Yeah.
Let's see. We have a singles match for the $1 Million Championship between the champion LA Knight versus the challenger Cameron Grimes, who is accompanied by Ted DiBiase. If Grimes loses, DiBiase must become Knight's butler. So that's a thing. Who wants to predict first? Richard, I go for it.
Cameron Grimes. This storyline has gone on for too long. I like Ted DiBiase. I like Cameron Grimes. I don't like the storyline. It's lasted too long. I'm glad that LA Knight has got some attention as a heel and you gave him the belt, whatever. But this needs to end. It's boring, played out. Just give it to Cameron guys and they can move on and face different opponents.
How about you, Dana?
Didn't Grimes lose previously?
Yeah,
like
he lost twice.
Yeah, so I don't know. If I'm going with logic here, I would say he would win. But sometimes we know logic does not exist. Karrion Kross. So I feel that it might have to be LA Knight. I'm gonna go with LA Knight.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Like if they're trying to build up LA Knight to be like, one of the top heels in the company and everything, he has to get some wins.
Yeah.
But I also think that, they made Grimes a babyface for a reason. And I mean, I liked him better as a heel, but I guess if the fans are taking a liking to him, they're gonna want a satisfying end to this angle, and what better way to do it than to have Grimes get the last laugh? So I'm actually, as much as I'm a fan of LA Knight, but and I like Cameron Grimes, like I said, like heel.
Interesting.
But, like I wasn't a fan of Grimes at first, but he grew on me. But I, as much as I like LA Knight, I'm gonna say Grimes wins this and becomes the new $1 million champion. So sorry for LA Knight, your reign's about to be short-lived, but if I'm wrong, I don't mind being wrong on that. So we'll see what happens there. Let's move on to the NXT United Kingdom Championship. With the reigning champion Walter, hope I pronounced that right, against Ilja Dragunov. Now, I want to say that I've seen these two have a very physical match for NXT UK. Like, I don't know if it was, I think it was earlier this year or late last year. It was a very, very physical match where they were chopping the hell out of each other. It was pulling for Dragunov to win that, and Walter retained, but heck of a match. As far as this one goes, I mean, if I'm a betting man, who's going to bet against Walter? So that's my pick. He's going to retain. That's how I just think it goes. Rich, what about you?
I really like Walter, as much as it pains me to say this, because I wanted to see Finn Balor and Walter get their match that they never got. Yeah. I think that Dragunov is going to win it, because this guy, you have to do something with this guy. You have him and Walter over in NXT, on the regular NXT now. I don't know if Walter still wants to stay in the States, but Dragunov clearly is on it, because he made his NXT debut recently, and he lost to Pete Dunne when he made the debut. So I think if you're going to do something with this guy, this is the time to do something with him. Walter has had that belt for a long time, and I don't know who else can beat him if it's not Finn Balor. So I have to go with Dragunov.
All right, Dana.
Walter had the belt for too long, and I'm sorry that it was during a pandemic when he had the belt. That's not anyone's fault, but he had the belt for too long, and I think that this will be a really great match, and it would also make the better sense for him to drop it here. And plus, also, I don't think Walter wants to live in the States. So what better way than to drop the belt to a guy who is just as amazing, and who also, I would say kind of deserves to have the title. So, yeah.
All right. So we got two people going with the title change there, and I have Walter retaining.
Yeah, keep track of this stuff we can discuss later.
I'm probably going to be right. Walter just dominated, but it'll be cool to see a little change there.
Yeah, but we don't have a UK. We don't have NXT UK anymore.
They've gotten rid of that?
Oh, did they get? No, they did not. They did not get rid of it. But I just meant in popularity.
Yeah.
Is anybody really watching?
One thing I will say before you go to the next match, I 100% expect Imperium to get involved and MSK to get involved, because they have a feud that's going on right now. So if Imperium does get involved, I expect them to, because they don't have a match on the card, I don't think. MSK doesn't.
No.
And they're the tag champs. So they're probably going to get involved in that if Imperium gets involved in that match. But no, continue.
All right. So we got 3 matches left in this takeover. I'm going to go with the 2 out of 3 falls match between Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole to possibly finish the whole freaking thing. I am going to say Kyle O'Reilly wins this, and this is the last we see of Adam Cole in NXT.
Wow. Interesting.
Dana, what do you think?
Yeah, we all know that Adam Cole has not re-signed, and he is just basically wrestling as a favor at this point. He doesn't have a contract. We did not hear of any rumblings. We do know that they had a big meeting. I forgot which day it was, but we had a meeting, and clearly that he didn't resign, unless that would have been reported. So this is his swan song. I think it's going to be a really great match. I think there may be some tears and breaking of characters, but I think this is his click moment where he's going to say goodbye and lose, and this feud will forever be over, and we'll see what's going on with the AEW and the Britt Bakers and the things.
Rich, what do you think?
I think Adam Cole saw that CM Punk promo tonight and thought to himself, he's right. That's somebody I want to face. So, yes, he possibly is going to AEW. And, yes, he can go to another promotion like Impact or whatever, but he's going to end up on AEW at some point because they are working together, as Dana said earlier. To answer the question, though, I think Adam Cole is winning the match. Because the thing is this. They can have Kyle O'Reilly win it. They already gave him a win the first time they had a match. The second time, Adam Cole won. This is a 3 falls match. So they're each going to win one match. But I think Adam Cole should win going out because, I don't know. I feel like Kyle O'Reilly is – I don't really like what they've done with the character too much. But I kind of feel like with Adam Cole, if he's going to leave, at least give him an excellent match to end off his WWE run and leave it at that. And the last point that I will add is because he did make a statement on Twitch the other day where they was talking about, you know, his channel, because I think he was playing the game, and he said this channel is not going anywhere. You know how WWE is very strict about them policies with trying to collect money from their wrestlers. So if he didn't negotiate that in his new deal, that tells you right there he's not re-signing with WWE.
Man. He could have renegotiated and had that in the contract.
He could have, yeah.
It could have been a whole work. I think the match itself was really interesting. To the fact that it's not like just a traditional 2 out of 3 falls. That we have the first one is a traditional, then the second one is going to be a street fight, and then the third one is going to be a steel cage. I think it's going to be really great. Either way. I don't. This is one of the things I'm honestly stumped on, where I can't tell you definitively who's gonna win. I just don't know because there's so many other factors. You have the fact that there's no contract. You have the fact that AEW is like, hey, what's going on? And then you also have the fact that he could stay and maybe he could renegotiate. I don't think he wants to go to the main WWE roster.
Yeah,
and we all know what would happen there.
Yeah, he shouldn't want to go there.
Right. Well,
you know, and yeah.
Go ahead.
So I agree. I think that he wants to stay. If he can stay in NXT but make main roster money, that would be his ideal scenario. But at the same time, I really doubt that that's what the company's doing. They're trying to trim salary. They're not trying to add to it. So I think it's more of a thing of like, and this is pure speculation. I know jack shit about his contract discussions, but it would be like, if you want this money, you're going to have to show up on Raw. We can give you that money you want, but you got to be on Raw, that kind of thing. But and it's whether he'll want to do that or not. One thing I want to mention that makes this match very interesting is what placement it has on the card, because while I'm not having it as the last of our predictions, it's a dark horse for main event. And if it's main eventing, that could be Cole's swan song.
Yeah.
Because there's got to be a reason for that. But if it's not main eventing, maybe Cole wins and he sticks around. So I mean, it's just something to think about as the show happens. But let's move on to the NXT Women's Championship match. I'm actually kind of interested in this. Is the defending champion Raquel Gonzalez going up against Dakota Kai? Rich, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think that Raquel Gonzalez has a very impressive physique. I do not like her as NXT champion, and I think that Dakota Kai is the one that should win the match. Now, how is she going to win it? I don't know, because obviously she's not as big as Raquel is. So I don't know. Obviously, again, I don't know if you're going to cheat to win or if there's going to be some type of interference. But Dakota Kai, if I recall correctly, won the NXT Breakout Star Award. I think it was about a year or two ago, and then I think she got injured shortly thereafter. So they haven't done anything with her with that yet. But I think that's the one who would be better suited to be champion right now, because I don't think, looking at Raquel Gonzalez, I don't see anyone on that roster now that's going to take that belt off of her, except if it is her best friend. That's the story that they're telling, right? So, yeah, I have to go with Dakota Kai is who I will be rooting for to win that match.
Okay. I'd like to go next if that's all right. I think that when Raquel Gonzalez won, that it was well-deserving, that they were definitely trying to build up this new star. And, she has, like you said, like an impressive physique and everything. And they've given it a try. I've just found her championship reign to be very forgettable. And it's just not doing it for me. So Dakota Kai is someone for years, I've been saying to anyone that'll listen, that's going to be NXT Women's Champion someday. And the only thing that was stopping her was injury. And her being from her going to be having Raquel as her bodyguard to then being Raquel's lackey was kind of an odd role change.
Yep.
I'm glad that they're finally going away from that. I think that Dakota is the right person to take the belt off of Raquel, and I think that that's what's going to happen. So Dakota Kai is my prediction. New NXT Women's Champion. We're gonna go with you now, Dana. What do you think about this one?
I think Dakota Kai is getting called up really soon. It's a little thin in the women's division on both the Raw and the SmackDown, and Becky Lynch can't be the only person to just hold it down when she does return. I mean, and then we lost Sasha, which we'll get into later. So she's getting that call up. So I think that Gonzalez might end up retaining. I do think Gonzalez has improved, but in terms of who would have been the better champion again, obviously I would go with Dakota. But I think Dakota has probably had her run in NXT now, and it's time to get that call up and to be treated as they did Asuka.
So I do have one quick thing I want to say. I take back what I said earlier. There is somebody that can take that belt away from Raquel Gonzalez, but it is not time for that person to get that yet. And I'm talking about Zoe Stark, because they obviously are very high on her, but they have her in this tag thing now with EO. So, but we'll see. Continue.
Yeah. Zoe seems like one of those up and coming talents that they can put in that role. But Dakota might be getting called up soon, but that shouldn't prevent her from having at least a short reign, the same way that Keith Lee had a short reign before his call up.
Maybe Karen Cross. We'll get into
who was that? The guy that got picked by Jeff.
He's the guy we're going to get into next.
Yeah, it's that new jobber we hired.
Yeah, apparently. Being an NXT champion doesn't mean much these days, it seems.
What's that? What's an NXT? No.
Not to Vince, it don't mean nothing to Vince. That's for certain.
But that man, Karrion Kross, is going to attempt to retain his NXT championship against Samoa Joe. Now, I'm looking at Wikipedia, and this is saying Karrion Kross with Scarlett, but we haven't been seeing Scarlett in quite some time. So
just Wikipedia.
And by the way, I saw a report, I think it was a day or so ago, saying that Scarlett is not cleared to be on the main roster right now. We haven't seen her on NXT at all since everything that happened, several weeks back. So I don't know if I trust that either, unless she's magically going to show up. But if you are giving predictions for this match, I think, in my personal opinion, Samoa Joe is winning. It's very obvious that there's no reason for the NXT champion to be on Monday Night Raw. This guy needs to give away the belt and give it to someone else, and they can focus on building up NXT. It doesn't make any sense for him to be on Raw as an NXT champion and then also on NXT as well. That's very dumb. So I want to see him lose the match. And if Scarlett isn't in the match, then Joe has a chance because there ain't gonna be no distractions. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think I actually, yeah, I'm gonna agree with you that I think that Samoa Joe's gonna take the belt because they kind of given it away with having Kross showing up on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
They're not gonna continue to have him hold the NXT belt on Raw. So
confusing.
Yeah.
And that right there is the problem I have with WWE rushing to have him just appear on Raw. It would have been a much better surprise to have him lose at Takeover and then show up on Raw for the very first time this upcoming Monday. That is how they would have operated in the past, to make it a surprise, because the fans are going to be in attendance. But instead you decide, no, let's bring him up beforehand, which was very dumb. So
it's confusing in general.
Yeah.
You have a guy who's the champion, who's not like just a champion. He's never lost.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you got a dude who never lost, comes into, what was it, Raw?
Yep.
And all of a sudden you have Jeff Hardy, and then that's it. And he gets beaten, what, twice almost?
And the thing is that it wasn't even his real debut on the main roster. His real debut was on Main Event against Shelton Benjamin. And it's like, what are you guys doing? Like, you went and you nullified his WrestleMania style entrance. You don't have Scarlett there. It looks like WWE 2K entrance, just very generic and everything.
They'll soon just be calling him Cross.
Don't give them.
That's coming. That's coming.
Cross.
That's definitely coming. It's
or
Cross.
They could change it like they did War Machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's coming. That's coming.
Billy Bob.
But so Dana, you're going with Samoa Joe also?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's just how sad that it was ruined overall. Mm-hmm. But I think Karen, because of how they treated him in Raw, he's a throwaway character now in NXT. He is not a threat. Even if he wins, it's like, why? And you remember, previously, they had to retape NXT because they kept chanting Jeff Hardy's name. So the audience is not taking him seriously. Don't be surprised if this is going to be a muted crowd event, because they'll probably start chanting, Jeff Hardy as well. Remember how they're now going back to taped shows instead of live. USA Network is very upset about this. So it just doesn't make any sense for him to retain. And if he does retain, for what? You're making the people who are actually still at NXT, like Samoa Joe, just kind of just invalid. Like they're just regular old wrestlers. And you have this guy who's, a jobber and then a champion at the same time. So overall, logically, it just doesn't make any sense for Karrion Kross to win and retain. Let him just go off to WWE and what is it, Raw, and I don't know, be a jobber for whoever. I don't know.
So they just don't care about what what they've built up for months or years in NXT with these wrestlers. They don't care. You get people like Asuka who are built up to be the greatest NXT woman of all time, and she goes and she will lose a match because she was distracted by, I can't remember his name, the guy with the who doesn't have a chin. You know, remember what's his face? Ellsworth.
Oh yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Like it made her look goofy and all this other stuff. You know, you have Cross who's this beating everybody in NXT, and I mean everybody. Yep. And then he goes and loses Jeff Hardy in his first match. Like, and now he's become a running joke. And so they have been having him beat Hardy, you know, back-to-back matches now. But it doesn't matter. They're still
doesn't make any sense. You lost during your debut to Jeff Hardy.
Right.
Yep.
There's no undoing it.
And the whole storyline they had about, he was supposed to keep losing until Scarlett showed up. That is canned. Since Scarlett is not there, it still isn't with him in any capacity. So yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Then the whole Keith Lee situation, you know how that went.
Yeah.
It's just he botched it too much.
That tells you they didn't have a plan for carrying Cross, because you had him going against Keith Lee. Of all the people you could have him get a win over.
Well, remember, Hardy had the panorama, so he couldn't come back and be defeated again.
Yeah, we know Jeff Hardy. You know, he had to go into quarantine, so it's understood. But to me, it's like, of all the people you can substitute to give him as an opponent, you have to give him Keith Lee, who is somebody you're also trying to build on the main roster. This is why I say they didn't know what the hell they were doing, and it's evident, because they could have easily gave him a jobber, another person on there that isn't winning, doing nothing, to just him and Keith Lee should have been going against. Yeah, give Shelton Benjamin to Keith Lee, and give Cedric to Karrion Kross or something like that, because they obviously ain't using either of these guys now. But it is what it is. But continue, Ricky. I don't want to go too off base.
NXT is just a factory of sadness. You know, hopefully they put on a great show. You know, those are our predictions for Takeover. And it's I believe for the first time following a major pay-per-view rather than going before it. So we'll see how that goes. But let's move on to SummerSlam.
Oh yeah,
10 matches for us to go through. So
two of which should not even be on the card. But continue.
And one that should be on the card. I don't know why it's on the card.
I am interested in Rich. You're gonna have to tell us which matches those are specifically.
Oh, I will. I'm gonna keep the suspense when you start talking about it, and then I will tell you as you go through the list.
Okay. So, and I believe that this is help me. What's the name of the stadium that they're in for this? It's in Las Vegas.
I think it's Allegiant Stadium and something like that.
Allegiant Stadium in Paradise, Nevada. So that's where the home of the Las Vegas Raiders. So weird saying that. I'm so used to it being Oakland. But yeah, beautiful stadium, big event. Very interested to see how the aesthetics are and how the excitement of everyone being there and all that. But let's get into these matches. I'm going to start with the one that I'm least interested in. This is Alexa Bliss against Eva Marie with the dude. You guys go first. I don't care who goes first.
Okay, go ahead, Dana. You think Dana volunteered?
Ain't nobody got this time.
Okay.
For this match.
Okay.
This has been the most. It angers me because we know of so many talents that they got rid of, and then we bring in Eva Marie, and we bring in Doudrop. Not knocking Doudrop at all. I'm knocking the fact of Eva Marie. Doudrop is fine, but because she is associated with this catastrophe that is Eva Marie, it's just sad. It's kind of like you would figure a Karrion Kross situation where you have someone who you know is talented, you know can wrestle, you know people have been following, but then you put her with like one of the complete opposite of someone who no one wants in the ring at WWE, and then you make her like not even like the equal, but kind of like Eva Marie is the driving force, and Doudrop follows her around, and Eva Marie gets the win, even though it's Doudrop who's wrestling. And I don't understand the purpose. I don't know why she's there. She's not doing anything for wrestling in general. In regards to Eva Marie, she's not doing anything for WWE. Not once do I feel that, oh my God, let me turn into WWE because Eva Marie.
Yep.
No. So of all the things, you get rid of the Iconics for Eva Marie. But yeah, so you have, I didn't forget who she's even wrestling. I didn't went into a rant. So you have Eva Marie versus Alexa Bliss, and what happened to her? That's a travesty that she's not responsible for. Yep. So you just have this sad situation with everyone overall. You know, that for me, is I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this for the simple fact that I know that Alexa Bliss is going to do the Bray Wyatt gimmick that no one wants to see, because whether or not Bray Wyatt is still with the company, that's his gimmick. And yes, we understand that, you know, she's been doing it also for a while, but it felt like it was a goal where they were kind of partners. And maybe she would eventually snap out of it and do something else, or they would just work together. But the fact that you make this public statement as a company to say Bray Wyatt is fired, and the way how they're doing it, kind of, I can't even say like it's a Drake Maverick situation, because Drake Maverick, you know, he at least released a statement. Bray Wyatt is just silent and has been posting up photos. So we really don't know what's going on. So we genuinely believe that he's actually fired. And I think it was Mickie James that said it best. Thank you, Bray Wyatt, for giving us a gimmick that we can now make money off of, even though we fired you.
Yep.
So this whole thing is just, I don't want to see. I hope Alexa Bliss wins just because she needs the win. I don't give a flying fart about Eva Marie. I'm sorry, Miss Drop of Dew, but I root for you. But I'll root for you when you're not partnered with this thing that is Eva Marie right now, because I don't want to see this. So I don't know. Nikki Bella wins. The end.
That's good. That sounds great. Okay, so I can go next.
Yes.
This is one of the matches that is unnecessary. Okay. And there will be some other ones as well, but this 100%, because they've been going back and forth on Raw with this dumb gimmick. So to answer the question very quickly, Alexa Bliss and her doll will win, because we already know that the doll will cause a distraction, and then all of a sudden, that's it. Alexa Bliss, the finisher, and it gave match over. And this, honestly, in my opinion, should only be a 5-minute match. It does not need to go on for a long period of time, because we've already seen them going back and forth on Raw, so I don't need to see any more of this. And after this match, it needs to be over. No more continuation of the feud. It needs to be over. They need to move on and do something else. But yeah, that's my pick.
Yeah, I'm with you guys in that this match, and honestly, what's going on with both participants are all stuff that no one asked for. Eva Marie is a throwback to the Divas era, which I don't want to see. And Alexa Bliss is talented enough that she doesn't need to have Bray Wyatt's gimmick to be over and everything. Yep. You know, I liked it when she was working with him, but without him, it just feels wrong. And like Dana said, that's not on her. That's the higher ups' decision, and I think they're making a big mistake there, because they're going to have people turn against her, and then it's not going to be her fault. But yeah, I don't care about this match. Alexa should win. She's going to win. Alexa's my prediction. Let's move on to the next match. Drew McIntyre against Jinder Mahal. Veer and Shanky are banned from ringside. I'm going to start this one off. This whole thing of Veer and Shanky being banned from ringside isn't going to mean jack. Because that means that there's someone else that we're not accounting for. And maybe it's, the Great Khali?
Hey, that's possible.
He's helped out Jinder before against Randy.
Listen, they need to have some surprises at SummerSlam. So, yeah, that'll probably be something that Vince thinks, oh, that's a great idea. Let's do that.
Oh, he's 7 feet tall. They'll love that. He's a giant.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Forget that he can't move.
He can't move.
But it's like, because if you don't have someone helping out Jinder Mahal, it just seems obvious that Drew would win this.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the feud's going to end at SummerSlam,
unfortunately. No.
But here's the thing, because here's the thing, and hear me out. They have any. I mean, I could be wrong, because I'm going to make a confession. I skip a lot of Raw. It's just hard to watch.
Yep.
But yeah, don't look at it, be surprised, Dana. It's hot garbage. But Drew McIntyre and Jinder Mahal, they have history from 3MB, but I don't think they've even touched upon that. They have spoken about it a little bit, but that's it. And their whole damn thing with the bike that got damaged, they were talking about that as well. Interesting. Okay.
But it's very brief. I've
always felt like I wanted when Drew came back and Jinder came back, like I wanted them to have a feud, but I wanted it to be like, like a good. I mean, maybe it's kind of silly for me to like want an emotional feud when they were in a silly comedy group, but I loved that group. I don't know about you guys, but I loved 3MB. Yep. I did. They were a group of jobbers, but they entertained me, and I hope someday Heath Slater comes back to WWE all super jacked and he gets the WWE title, and then all three of them can have that. That's not going to happen. I'm hoping for it. Maybe it won't happen.
Yeah, I wish it would happen, but that's not going to happen, because WWE might not even be around. It's going
to be around. It's not falling apart. I love these reports where it's like they're selling. It's no more. The days of WWE are over. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah,
they survived much worse.
It'll be new management, but it'll still exist.
It's gonna be the same management.
But let's. I'm sorry. I'm taking too long here. I'm gonna say Jinder wins this with shenanigans and prolongs the feud. Dana, what do you predict?
I forgot Jinder was even employed at WWE.
Harsh.
Not harsh.
A former WWE champion, the modern day Maharaja.
So in terms of the Maharaja, the dude, I feel that Jinder needs to do this win. I think that poor Drew McIntyre, he's just had a really bad run with everything. So yeah.
Drew's gonna be popular with the fans whether he wins or loses.
Well, he's gonna be, but overall he just had a really bad run, because remember he was champion last year.
Yep, months ago.
So everything just we're not even talking about a full year. It's just had a really bad run, and now he's facing Jinder Mahal. Ooh. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to go with Jinder. No, I don't know. We have the whole thing where they're really pushing Drew. He has the sword thing. They got the sword gimmick is back. Yep. I feel that he will win. I think they both need this win, but just because of the way that it's being pushed, I do feel that Drew is going to win, him and his sword.
Yep.
So there you go. There can be the run-in, the sword.
Okay. How about you, Rich?
So, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? This is another match that does not need to be on this card. I have a lot of respect for Drew McIntyre for what he did during the pandemic and how he held the championship. It is very depressing to see him have this match, because Jinder Mahal is not on the same level as Drew McIntyre right now. You could have made the argument that he was when WWE was behind him and they needed to maintain that relationship with India, so that that's where they had him as the champion and all this other stuff. You could say that, but he's not in the same level now. So my prediction is this should have been a Raw match. It shouldn't be on the card, but since it's on the card, Drew McIntyre will win the match, and this will be setting up him inevitably getting traded to SmackDown so he can start another rivalry with Roman Reigns, because I don't know why this guy hasn't been moved to SmackDown yet. I feel like that's coming, because there's nothing else for him to do on Raw right now. He's not going to be able to go against get the title anymore, unless, of course, something happens that we'll get into a little bit later. But no, he can't face Lashley anymore for the title. So either Lashley has to lose the belt or he needs to leave Raw. So we'll see.
I think that what they should have done, and we'll do a prediction for this match later, but Sheamus is United States champion, and he's got history with Drew, and they built up a big feud and everything. Should have had Drew go for that belt. So that, yes, it's a step down from the WWE Championship, but it's still something, and it still puts them in the spotlight while being in a big physical fight that people will want to see.
Oh yeah, they beat the hell out of each other. Yeah, continue.
Yeah, we'll go into that match later, but I think we've all done our predictions for this other unnecessary match. So let's move on to...
I mean, wait, really quickly. You can technically have Heath Slater. Remember they brought him back really briefly? Or am I confusing promotions?
They brought him back for one episode of Raw while he was still a free agent.
Yep. Now he's in TNA.
And now he's in TNA, yeah.
Okay.
So
WWE does not work with any other promotions. Continue.
Let's go with the tag team match for the WWE SmackDown Tag Team Championship.
Oh, yeah.
You got the reigning champion, the Usos, going up against Rey and Dominic Mysterio. Richard, you can go first.
Yes. So I was wrong. This is another match that is unnecessary.
I'm nailing it, man. I'm doing this in the right order, but go ahead.
And let me tell you why. These guys have been facing each other for weeks. Ever since the Usos got the belts, they have been going back and forth as if this is the only tag team that they can face on SmackDown, because it is. Because at the time, the Street Profits were not, Montez Ford wasn't cleared. So obviously, I think eventually the Usos are going to face the Street Profits and have a feud with them. But for right now, it's clear to me that Two Drink Jimmy and his brother are going to win. They're going to retain the belts. They're going to retain the belts because they have to, for the sake of the bloodline. It's this whole storyline about, oh yeah, we're strong as a family and all this other BS. So they're gonna retain the belts, and Rey Mysterio and Dominic will lose. And I hope that after this match, even though it won't happen, I want to see Dominic turn on Rey. This has to happen at some point because this doesn't make any sense. This has to happen. Rey Mysterio is great at what he does. He's great on the mic when he needs to in certain situations. I would love to see him have a feud with his son. So maybe it'll happen at some point, but they're not going to win those belts. That's pretty obvious, in my opinion. But we'll see.
Dana?
Or do drink. I think, I don't know. I know you guys, wait, who is it with again? I'm sorry. I zoned out for a second.
Against the Mysterios.
The Mysterios. I mean, the way that they've been being pushed, you have that whole father-son dynamic. The crowd is behind them. You have Mysterio, who's mysterious. And then you have the Usos, who's kind of been, in and out, and they had their problems. And I don't really think that they had that strong kind of, I'm not going to say background, but it just seems like right now, Rey and his son, Dominic, are just really hot at this moment. And the Usos have been there for a while. They've had the belts for a while. I feel, to me, I'm sorry, sometimes they can get stale. And I think that for something that is refreshing and just overall could be fun, and it's really nice to see a father-son dynamic, I'm going to go with the Mysterios.
Okay. I think that WWE has dropped the ball with Dominic not once, but twice.
Wait, how?
I'm going to get into that. They dropped the ball with him twice. The first time, I think it would have been great if he had turned against Rey and joined Seth when Seth Rollins was the cult leader, the Messiah and all that. Because it just would have been, it would have made sense of, this is how dangerous Seth Rollins is, that he could influence your own son to stab you in the back and join forces with him, that kind of thing. They just didn't have the guts to go with that because Dominic was still Raw. So that's okay. They did that. But what was even worse was they had the Mysterios win the tag belts in front of no crowd.
Mm-hmm.
They did it in the Thunderdome.
That's not fair.
No, it's absolutely fair. And the reason why I say that is because SummerSlam, the plan was always for them to have SummerSlam happen in front of a crowd. They could have saved that moment for the crowd. So now, yes, the Mysterios could win it tomorrow.
That's not fair.
But it'll be their second reign. It won't be the same thing as because they've already had become the first and only father and son champion tag team in history. They should have done that in front of a live crowd.
They didn't know when you could, during that time, you didn't know when you can have a live crowd. Everything was a little janky.
So they, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't the Mysterios have the tag belts like as recently as July?
Yes.
By July, we already knew that they were going to have SummerSlam.
And I will also add that the reason that they lost those belts is because I feel after what happened with Two Drink Jimmy, they had to accelerate this bloodline story. And all of a sudden, you know what? This guy is we need to give him a belt to convince him to just listen. Don't just whatever you do, don't take that drink. We'll give you a belt, and that's it. And that's what happened. And I'm not making light of the situation, but this has happened multiple times. It's very irresponsible of WWE and him to be able to still work in this company when you're doing irresponsible stuff like this. But
I'm going to totally agree. I'm going to totally agree with Rich there that it's like it's just irresponsible to not like it's irresponsible to drink and drive, first of all. But as a company to just be like, okay, we're going to sweep this under the rug and we're going to give you a tag belt as a reward.
Yep.
Like now you're enabling this kind of thing. I want the Usos to do well. They're entertaining, but I also don't want them to die of drinking and driving. So and I think that's more important. But ultimately, I agree with Rich that they accelerated this storyline because they were having like Jimmy being against this whole bloodline idea and, you know, Jay being reluctant and not knowing what to do and all this other stuff. And now because of this DUI, it's like, okay, we're just going to go right ahead and have the tag we're going to have you guys go together as a tag team, and we're going to just have the whole bloodline form again. The bloodline, the story they're telling is that they're a family of champions. And, you know, Roman Reigns, of course, the head of the table and everything, the head champion. If things start to fall apart, you're going to see the Usos drop the belts, and then you're going to have Roman judging them and everything. I think you're more likely to see the Usos drop the belt at a random SmackDown than you are at the SummerSlam. So my prediction is that the Usos retain the tag championships and continue this storyline just a little bit longer, which is kind of a spoiler in a way, but yeah. All right. So let's go with the other tag team championship match. AJ Styles and Omos going against RK Bro, Randy Orton, and Matt Riddle. I'm going to go ahead and say RK Bro wins it. I think it makes sense. Like, you have the whole fun like couple thing going, and you know, like similar to Team Hell No. I don't know if you guys remember that team.
Yeah, we remember Team Hell No.
I do remember Team Hell No and a certain individual that will soon be going to AEW that was a part of that team. So yeah, I do remember that.
Oh, Mr. Bryan.
A mayor. That's so crazy. And what would end up becoming a mayor?
Yeah. What a world we live in.
What a world wrestling has become.
Well, I'm going to go with RK Bro. Rich, which way are you going on this one?
Yeah, I think it's very obvious it will be RK Bro. They have forced this this union because when Randy Orton came back, they had the little dissension between them. You know, Matt Riddle gets RKO'd, trying to put doubt in people's head. Oh, these guys are not going to be a team. I do think Matt Riddle is a little too much of a cheerleader for Randy Orton. It's a little silly, but it's RK Bro. They've invested a lot into this duo, so it has to have a payoff. And I think that AJ Styles maybe wants a break after this title reign. Omos has had his little singles matches as well, so he'll be fine. But yeah, RK Bro wins. And I think one of the main highlights you will see at that as a little, when they have the little montage of things that happen, you will see almost getting the RKO, and that will definitely be a highlight that they will show.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
How about you, Dana?
Well, yeah, also really great thing about, remember how it seems like every SummerSlam, Randy Orton does this amazing version of an RKO?
Mm-hmm.
I think, remember, and also WrestleMania, because he was at one time where I forgot, I think he was facing Seth Rollins, and he stepped on his back, jumped off, and then RKO'd him. So I really want to see Matt Riddle and Randy Orton work together to do some kind of great RKO version on Almost, because he's just so incredibly big and just so tall, where they have to work together to get for Randy to get his arm around Almost's neck. So yes, I don't like Almost. I don't see a purpose for him, aside from he's really big. He doesn't move well. He doesn't really say anything. I don't know why he's really there anymore. AJ Styles is one of those wrestlers who's more than capable. He does not need any kind of guard or mouthpiece, or he's just, all encompassing. He can do everything, and I just don't know why Almost is there. So I do see that RK Bro is going to win, also because the crowd is really behind them. I can't explain why, but their gimmick just works. It's not supposed to, but it works. Even when they had it when Randy Orton did the RKO on him, and he was like, "Nah, man," he was making sure that he tested it out. And he was just so positive. I'm like, that was the cutest. I can't explain it, but I'm like, I really like how he's just this thing of positivity and always rooting for Randy Orton, even though he may do something terrible to him. He's like, no, see, I'm just, making sure it works. That whole thing was just really great. So I like them together. I want them to be that weird kind of hell no team and win.
Yeah.
All right. Good stuff there, guys. Let's move on to the United States Championship match. Got Sheamus defending the belt against Richard's favorite wrestler, Damian Priest. Richard, you go first.
Well, I wouldn't say Damian Priest is my favorite wrestler. I like the guy. I think he's done a pretty good job. It seems to me like WWE, they had absolutely no plan for him because, Bad Bunny, when Bad Bunny was around, they just kept him in the constant feuds back and forth with Miz and Morrison, or as he calls himself, Johnny Drip Drip now. I think Damian Priest is going to win the match. And obviously, if there's an interference by Miz and Morrison, but I just want to say I hope he wins it, because I'm tired of them having these matches where Damian Priest still has to go against Miz or Morrison. It's like, come on now. This guy, there's a roster of other people he can face. Why do you still have him in this going against the same opponents? So, yeah, I think Damian Priest needs to win, and they need to actually have him go off and face other opponents.
Dana?
I really, Bad Bunny was kind of the best thing that ever happened to Damian Priest.
Great.
So crazy. But yeah.
Ricardo Drip Drip now.
I was waiting for you to catch on. I'm like, oh, he's not saying nothing. But, but I totally do. Damian Priest really needs it at this moment. I think that he's kind of just floundered about when he got called up as well. They're not doing call-ups very good. So I do think he just needs this win. He needs more of the spotlight. So I want him to really win this.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to go with Damian Priest. I think that Sheamus did his role holding the title, United States Championship, but Priest is the kind of guy you want to be pushing. You want to reward him for working with Bad Bunny at WrestleMania. And, what better place to do that than a SummerSlam and to establish another star. So I'm going to go with Priest. There's a good one there. Let's see. Where can we go next? So we have... Okay, let's go with a match that almost didn't happen. Bianca Belair defending the SmackDown Women's Championship against Sasha Banks. Dana, can you start with this one?
That's not happening.
Well, okay, so that's good because I saw there was a report earlier, so I'm confused. It's up in the air now because I think there was something that said that today Sasha's not cleared or whatever. I don't know though because she wasn't on SmackDown, right? I didn't see her on SmackDown. They kept advertising as if this match is happening, so I have no idea if it's happening.
Well, the last time we saw her was when she was last week. When Sasha grabbed her by the braids and was pulling on her?
Yeah.
They showed that video again.
They closed the show with that.
Well, if they close the show with the video, then I guess it's going to actually, I don't know. Because this company has been advertising people that never showed.
Yep.
They closed the show, I believe, what was it, last week with Sasha attacking with the braid or whatever. Or that was that the contract signing? I don't remember.
That was a contract signing.
Okay. Today on SmackDown, Bianca went against both Zelina and Carmella in separate matches, but she said that it was my goodness, blanking on her name, but she's one of the people that interviews Kayla Braxton.
Yeah.
Like, aren't you concerned about having two matches before you defend your belt tomorrow at SummerSlam? And Bianca said that oh, well, it is what it is. I'm feeling irrational right now, and I'm going to take it to these women, and then I'm going to defend my belt, against Sasha. I can't stand her, blah, blah, blah. So I think the match is still happening.
Okay.
We'll see. But I'm assuming the match is going to still happen. If it does, I think Bianca retains.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, Bianca retains either way. So.
Yeah, Bianca retains.
Yeah, Bianca will retain because there's no reason to take it off of her right now.
Yeah. Or they could start the speed dial to Becky Lynch. And even though she retains, Becky Lynch could be like, hey.
I wouldn't do that.
There's a lot of things you wouldn't have done that they have done.
But Bianca's popular. This is not like Charlotte holding the belt and the fans.
And that's
to heck with this,
And that will get into what I have to say later about that match. But
yes.
Yeah,
let's get into that next. Actually, triple threat for the Raw Women's Championship. We got Nikki Ash, the defending champion, going up against Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley. Rich, do you want to go first on that?
Yeah, the almost superhero Nikki Ash almost had a okay. I mean, it was great to see her win the belt as fast as she did. It's great for her to be in this match at SummerSlam. It's an honor. It's a privilege. But for some reason, this is WWE. Vince McMahon is in control, and I think that Charlotte is going to win this match. And after Charlotte wins this match, this is when you'll see Becky Lynch come out there. Either it's going to happen tomorrow night or it's going to happen on Raw, and she's going to make her presence known. I'm not saying she's going to be, because they said she's going to be coming back full-time in the fall. So maybe she may not wrestle right away, but she's going to make it known that she's back. Because they need to have some type of surprises at SummerSlam. There has to be some type of surprise. Because my thing is this, and this is the last point that I'll make. Everybody is talking about what happened tonight at AEW. And of course, WWE there was this whole thing that WWE said, oh, they're not going to have any reaction to.
They said they're going to have a reaction. That's not competition. They don't know who AEW is.
Yeah, they said they're not going to have a reaction, which I think is some BS, because I definitely expect there to be some stuff that happens tomorrow. And I'll get into that later, because I think there's going to actually be some upsets in some of them title matches as well, because I think that Vince McMahon is dumb enough to make something happen in one of these matches that will anger some of the fans. But no, I think Charlotte, this match for sure, I feel like Charlotte is probably going to be the one that probably comes away with the victory. We'll see.
I am rooting for Nikki, but I'm going to piggyback off of you and say Charlotte wins and Becky makes her appearance to get the fans not depressed about Charlotte winning. I really like that prediction. I'm going to go with that. Dana, what do you say?
I have a question first. Does anyone know why the whole almost a superhero gimmick is just not working? Because it does terrible in house shows.
I know why.
Why?
Because WWE Creative is trying to get involved with whatever the vision is that she had for this thing in the very beginning. I think just like with Bray Wyatt, and you heard the stories about them having creative issues with Vince McMahon with the character. I feel that this is the same thing that's going to be happening to Nikki Cross now with her character. But that's just my guess, because WWE is like, it feels like we've said this multiple times. When a wrestler comes up with an idea, they will try and take the idea and make it their own and forget about what the wrestler said. We need to make all these changes and stuff like that. So I kind of feel like they definitely are involved with this, and that's also making it turn out worse than it actually is.
Because the thing is, she came up with it, and Vince is all like, "Yay!" and he loves it. And so, from what we're seeing, is still Nikki Ash. I just don't know if it's like too corny, because the gimmick itself is not something that's original. We've seen it all the way going back to Hurricane, and probably even before that. So I just wonder if it's just really bad timing. Is it because, I don't know, kids are not watching? That is just not working.
Bad timing, overexposure of the same matchups over and over again. Because she went against Charlotte multiple times. And that's the other thing. Why the hell would you announce a match at SummerSlam, a triple threat, and then say, now tonight on Raw, it's going to be Charlotte versus Nikki in a title contenders match, when clearly she already has a title match on the pay-per-view? You see, this is the stuff I said makes no sense. They say that in there to try to get people to watch the show, but if you watch the show, that's all they're just throwing it in there just for the sake of to try to draw interest.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that, because it was also doing after Charlotte beat her. Well, I'm gonna face you again next week.
Yep, and she won that match.
Yeah, so it's like the 50-50. Yeah, they're doing the 50-50 booking, which is just, the whole thing is weird. Yeah. So with this match, she is facing Charlotte again.
And Rhea Ripley.
And I want Rhea Ripley to win, because I'm just tired of both of them.
Well, hey, Rhea Ripley versus Becky would be a hell of a lot better.
That would be such a good match.
Oh, yeah.
Remember when she was still in NXT and dominated in that cage match?
Yep.
To the point where people were like, she's only, 22 at that time? So, yeah, I miss that Rhea. And I don't think that Rhea left. It's just that WWE is kind of like, no, I want to see that.
They don't know how to utilize these people on the main roster. That's the problem.
Not at all. We got 3 matches left. We're making pretty good time.
Yeah.
This one is just a singles match, but it's one of great interest to me. Edge against Seth.
Yeah.
I really like this build up. I think they both do a great job. Like being in oh god, I am in the Brood. That theme still slaps, by the way.
Yeah.
I love it. I marched so hard when I heard that theme being played there. But they have great intensity with their characters. They can take a feud, and I love the continuity. I love them referencing the whole incident that happened 7 years ago. And, the authority angle and all that stuff. I love that. As for who wins, man, that can go either way. That's a coin toss. I'll say Edge, because Edge has to win something. He lost he lost at WrestleMania, and it's just like he needs to win something. And Seth can survive this loss. It might not even end the feud, but I think Edge needs to win this, so he's the one I'm going with. How about you, Dana?
This is one of those ones where I know we were talking about, I don't care about this match. I actually care about this match. They did a really great job just building it up overall. And they did the unexpected with the Brood. Like, for literally 2 seconds, I was like, wait, is that Bray Wyatt? Is he coming back? Why is everything red? But the fact that they went back and they did the whole Brood thing, and Gangrel was commenting. So I would love for him to come back and kind of do that gimmick just overall, and just have Gangrel nearby. That's just how excited that I am for what they did and talking back on his past. So yay for that. I do agree with you. Edge needs it. We had that kind of very long match that was over at WrestleMania between him and Randy Orton. Then we had the injury that he had over the Panorama, so we didn't see him for a while. And for him to come back now and, to still be able to move and groove, I would think that he deserves this win. He needs something that will, project him forward. And Seth Rollins is someone who can afford to lose. He's not going to lose his spot. He's not going to lose anything by losing. So, yeah, I want him to win.
Yeah.
All right, Rich.
All right, so I agree with a lot of what was already said. I believe that Edge should win it, and that's my pick to win it. I do, however, say this. I don't really know if Edge, what other matches he has penciled in, because it feels like he will come back for the bigger events. Maybe he has something for Survivor Series. But I will say this: if he wins the match, but I'm sure he will win it, I fully expect either after the match or on the next SmackDown, he will get attacked by Seth Rollins, and that will be how they will write him off TV to get a little break before he comes back again. Because I kind of feel like he's not going to just win and then disappear. I feel like if he wins, then they're going to have to try to have some storyline to explain why now he's not continuing on wrestling other matches at this time. So we'll see.
Yeah, I can see that they can do this thing where they push it off until Royal Rumble or whatever.
Yep.
Or Survivor Series if it's going to be a shorter break. But yeah, this is good stuff. 2 matches left. We're going to go with the cool down match. WWE Championship, Bobby Lashley.
Oh yeah,
going up
the Almighty
Goldberg. Rich, you go first.
Goldberg is going to lose this match. Part of me feels that Vince McMahon, however, would be dumb enough to have Goldberg win the match, but because Goldberg has already had a title match this year, and we know he only has 2 matches every year, it's pretty obvious he's not going to win this match. He did an interview recently where he put over Bobby Lashley also, and that he is coming back to help the talent that is coming up. So Bobby Lashley's winning it, but this match needs to be a squash match. No disrespect to Goldberg, but this match should be over within 5 minutes or less. It has to be. Anything more is absolutely disrespectful. But that's what I'll say. Bobby Lashley retains.
Yeah, if this match lasts 5 minutes, that's 4 minutes too long. I think Bobby Lashley should and will retain. Again, they've been building him up as a dominant champion. He's beaten guys better than Goldberg, and that should remain the case. This will be a match where everyone uses their signature moves right away because neither of them have the stamina to do a long match. So
now
3 minutes, Bobby Lashley.
I just want to say one quick thing, and then I want to go to Dana. What I would like to see happen, I would like to see Bobby Lashley lays out Goldberg, beats him down. The end of the match, Goldberg spears Lashley. Big E comes out and cashes in on Lashley. I would be totally fine with that.
The only problem with that is that that's a Raw championship.
Yeah, so
I don't want to lose Big E to Raw. That would be cool, but I don't want to lose him to Raw. That's the only thing. So it would be
probably not going to happen because he's been teasing going after Roman Reigns, so it's probably not going to happen like that. But yeah,
I mean, again, whether he gets the SmackDown or the Raw championship, happy for him.
Yeah.
rather it be on SmackDown if possible. I'm gonna say one thing before I move it to Dana.
Yeah,
this was I really feel like this was supposed to be the Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar match.
Yes.
It just didn't feel like doing it.
So you don't think Brock Lesnar would show up and confront Bobby Lashley in the future?
No, and the reason why Brock Lesnar wants nothing to do with Bobby Lashley, Dana will explain.
Okay. Oh.
Because Bobby Lashley sucks. Who wants to wrestle with him? Like, mommy. I'm actually okay if Goldberg wins. That's just how much I'm detached from Bobby Lashley's existence. But no, this is a match that should not happen either way. I don't know why Goldberg is here and his whole speech of, I want to help the young people in the back. To do what? Bash their heads, do a terrible spear, and go home? What exactly has this guy done to the wrestling community where you're like, I want to learn from that guy? That guy has really made it. No, he had really great luck. Yep. He did the same one set move set and got over with that until people were just tired of it. Mm-hmm. And then, people wanted him back. That's just how bad that the industry has been, that they were calling for him to come back. And he repeated with the same one set move set. Does anyone remember Saudi Arabia and that disaster?
Oh yeah, I know. I know that Mark Calloway remembers that event very well.
Mark Calloway definitely remembers that event. Goldberg doesn't remember that event, but everyone else does.
I remember Goldberg dropping the Fiend on his head.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculous. But then I continue.
But no, this match will just be really simple. He'll bash his head on the door. He'll get disorientated. He'll have another, CTE attack, drop someone else on their head. It'll be a hot mess. He'll try to spear him, and then Bobby Lashley have to carry the whole match. So I'm going with Bobby Lashley, and I can't even stand that guy.
Oh, whoa.
Wow.
Oh, you guys know that.
Oh, yeah. No, we love to poke fun because it's been an ongoing thing. Even back to the Leo Rush days when he was managing him, whatever. But
yeah, and yay for Leo Rush. He is really, you go, boy.
Yeah. Yep. There's only one guy I want to see Goldberg have a match with, and that's not going to be possible on this card. And that's Matt Riddle, because they can't stand each other.
Yep, that's not going to happen now.
And that's not going to happen. That's the only match that if it was going to have, if Goldberg was going to, if you were going to tell me Goldberg has to have a match at SummerSlam, who's he going to go against? Give me Matt Riddle, just to have them beat the crap out of each other.
Yep.
But that's not happening, so whatever. Main event time. We've reached the final countdown. Yeah. Where John Cena is challenging the head of the table, the tribal chief, your WWE Universal Champion, Roman Reigns. Now, I don't know if you guys saw SmackDown tonight, but
I did see it, and I will have a complaint about that. Continue.
Yes. and that stipulation is that if Roman Reigns loses, he leaves WWE.
Oh, we've never heard of that before.
Wow.
Wow.
Dana, you want to start this one off for us?
What's funny is when I was younger, I used to think those were really real, and I was really invested in those kind of matches. The Summer of Cena. So it's called the Summer of Cena, and we're still in the summer. So I think, crazily enough, John Cena will actually win this. And I believe that The Rock will come down and do a speech about head of tables, and that he is the head of the table. And I will not be surprised if for Royal Rumble, we will have John Cena versus The Rock. Because here's the thing, and this is why I kind of say this. When you know you're not going to sign or do something, or be a part of a company, you completely say no, right? Mm-hmm. I have interviewed The Rock for Jungle Cruise. This man did the same moveset that Jack Whitehall did, who is Tony Khan's best friend. The dip and the dive and the not answer the question. So I do feel that he is going to come and make an appearance and probably shame Roman Reigns for losing. And then we probably could have a Roman Reigns versus The Rock thing.
Yeah.
Or we could have a John Cena versus The Rock thing. But I do honestly feel that he is going to lose. And John Cena is going to win. I don't know how long he's going to stay with the company. But I know also that even though WWE is saying we don't view AEW as competition, you need something to be competitive. And them announcing Logan Paul is not going to win anything.
Yeah, I saw that. Now, what the hell was that about on Raw? That's what's going to happen on Raw. On Mr. Drip Drip's show.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that's right.
And we had Drip, and we had him before on the show with Drip and
we had it with Sami Zayn. But
Sami Zayn. Well, the point is, he's been on the show, and what has been the crowd reaction? They were dead silent.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand the reasoning behind this. No one genuinely cares, and what's really odd is Logan Paul does not have that great reputation of, let's everyone go and flock to him right now. What is he gonna? Maybe it's gonna be for another boxing match. They're gonna do. I just don't get it. I don't understand the logic behind it. But yeah, that's. I'm going with John Cena.
Interesting. Very interesting. Rich, you want to go next?
Yeah. So I just want to say this. With that promo tonight that John Cena had was very interesting. Where you make the comment like, well, everyone knows I'm just here promoting a show, whatever, but I'm not here to promote a show. I'm here to beat you, embarrass you, and win the belt. And I find that funny because the very first promo he cut when he returned, he said, oh, this isn't about me becoming the 17-time world champion. This is about me beating Roman Reigns. Yet he mentions tonight, oh, and I'm going to win the championship for the 17th time. So it's kind of like, I was thrown off with the promo because I thought you did a good job convincing me. Maybe the WWE, because I do agree with what Dana said. Because of the CM Punk thing, I feel like WWE knows that everybody's going to be talking about AEW this weekend, so they have to do something to get them talking about WWE. So they would be dumb enough to either give the belt to Goldberg or give the belt to Cena. But my answer as to who was going to win this match, I don't know. I think it has to be Roman Reigns, all because they messed up with this whole thing about if you beat me, then I'm gonna leave WWE. There ain't no way in hell that Roman Reigns is leaving WWE. This guy in these interviews, he's talking all this stuff about, oh yeah, I'm the guy. I'm the main guy here at WWE. All this other stuff here, so they cannot throw that away on John Cena. What I do think is going to happen, as you alluded to, Dana, is that I do think The Rock is going to be a Survivor Series, and that is going to set up this match with Roman Reigns for WrestleMania next year. How they get there, I have no idea. But I like your theory about if Roman Reigns loses and then gets embarrassed by The Rock, because that makes a lot of sense. I just don't know if that's the direction they're going to go, because John Cena is, and then the other thing that I don't like is that you had this whole thing where Finn Balor was involved in this, and they was teasing the fact that, well, maybe it could be a triple threat, and we throw Finn Balor in there, and yet Finn Balor needs to whoop John Cena's ass for interfering in that contract they're signing. So I kind of feel like I want to see that happen, but it does not need to be for a belt. But we'll see what happens. But I find it hard to believe that they're going to have Roman Reigns lose this belt right now. But we'll see, because again, there's a lot of things that could happen. And then, much like I said with the last thing about with Goldberg, much like I said about the comment that Big E could cash in, the same thing could happen here, where Big E can come out there and John Cena gives like an F5 to Roman Reigns after losing the match, and then Big E comes out there and does his thing. So that could happen too. But either way, there has to be some type of surprise or surprises that happen at this pay-per-view, because they know this is a big deal and they need more people talking. So we'll see. But I don't think Roman Reigns is going to lose that belt. Not tonight, because it's already Saturday.
Right. Friday night WrestleCast has become Saturday night.
Yeah.
WrestleCast. But I agree with you, Rich, that I don't think the time is right for Roman to drop the belt. Granted, he's had the belt for almost a year now.
Mhm.
But consider what's Dana typing? Oh boy.
Why do I have to be typing anything?
No, because it's usually like
You heard it. You heard it.
You've got
Yep.
something with my name.
Oh, there you go.
Here we go. Saturday Night WrestleCast. We're rebranding. So going back to what I was saying about Roman Reigns is that it's all about his character and like how insecure he is and how he has to surround himself, with lackeys and everything, and has to cheat to win and all this other stuff.
Yep.
And he's all about being acknowledge me, his status and everything. I'm not getting the sense with this thing with Cena that he's falling apart and that Cena is going to be the last straw for him. Yes, I am the head of the table. Yeah, I'm not getting the sense that Cena's this last straw that's going to break him and cause him to, go crazy, whatever. This is why I said earlier that the Usos retaining was kind of a spoiler, because it's this whole idea of like either the Bloodline's all going to be champions or none of them are going to be champions. So like if the Usos drop the belt, then maybe Cena goes and wins it later on. But I just don't see it. This whole thing with Cena coming in and shooting on Roman about how he's a fraud and people are not buying into him and everything is him actually trying to sell Roman as like, well, yeah, like try to get people's guard down so that when Roman does beat Cena, it's like, well, shit, now we need to take Roman seriously because he just beat a legend, in John Cena. Now, if Cena wins, the optics are not great as far as having all these wrestlers, these full-time wrestlers, trying and failing to beat him.
Yep.
Now here's Cena, now a part-timer coming in and right away winning it. Not great optics, although Vince McMahon probably doesn't give a shit, because you could have Cena go and parade that belt around Hollywood.
Yep.
And promote the company, whatever. So it's all a matter of, are they going to have Cena go around with the belt the same way they did with Brock Lesnar, or when The Rock had the belt, the WWE belt years back, and he didn't make a whole lot of appearances. They could always do that with Cena, but I think Roman's retaining. That's just how I feel that we're gonna get here.
I just will make a comment and say this: when Roman Reigns does lose that belt, I think SmackDown is in trouble, depending on who he loses the belt to. Now, if it's the scenario you said and John Cena takes the belt, then that show is going to be doomed, because I'm pretty sure Fox is not going to want. They're going to want people to want to watch the show. John Cena is not going to be able to be there on every single week. So I kind of feel like when Roman Reigns loses that belt, though, SmackDown is going to get a lot worse if they don't have any plans in place, because I've seen some of the other stuff they've done on SmackDown, and your boy Baron Corbin running around with the briefcase that is Big E's briefcase, just stuff like that. I'm like, this is horrible. So see what happens.
Yeah. I think that I kind of like Dana's theory of like The Rock getting involved at some point. I don't think we're going to see him at SummerSlam, but we could see him for Survivor Series or
Survivor Series,
Royal Rumble, where he could be the one to take the belt off of Roman, but then Roman takes it back off of him, and then Big E cashes in on Roman and starts that whole thing.
That'll be very good
until after WrestleMania of next year.
And you know what? That makes perfect sense, because Survivor Series is going to be the 20-year anniversary of The Rock making his debut. So that'll be perfect if he returns. But we'll see.
Well, yeah, we will see what happens there. So Anyone have any final thoughts on SummerSlam before we wrap up this show?
I think that Dana is she passed out from the excitement of CM Punk, so that's why she's not available at the moment. But yeah, I will just say, yeah, it's great to come back and do a show. It was a entertaining show. I think I enjoyed the show more than any of the programs that I ever watched this week, wrestling wise. So looking forward to seeing what happens at WrestleMania in NXT, and I look forward to seeing Adam Cole in AEW sooner or later.
Elite Adam Cole. Dana, any final thoughts on SummerSlam or this show before we wrap things up?
I think overall SummerSlam will be watchable. There will be moments of enjoyability. So no, I'm looking forward to it. It's just, it's not in the position of how it was previous years where we make a whole big event out of it. But I think that it's not going to be a complete wash. I think it's going to have some really great moments.
Yeah, I think if we're going by what we've been seeing with NXT, that SummerSlam is going to be a better show than Takeover.
Yep.
As it should be, because it's SummerSlam. But a lot of times Takeover, has stolen the show. Like how many times when they had it in Brooklyn, that Takeover Brooklyn was just amazing, and then you have SummerSlam the next day, and it's like, well, hard to follow, hard act to follow. I don't think that SummerSlam's going to knock our socks off, but I think it will be a better show than Takeover. But we'll see whether that's the case. We have the next couple days to find out. But yeah, this has been a blast. I'm really glad that we finally got this show off after 9 months in the freezer. And definitely a great night to do it because of the return of CM Punk and all the events that are happening. No promises, but hopefully we can bring you all some more WrestleCast goodness in the near future, because this is definitely a fun way to get some thoughts out there, and we'll see if we can find ways to engage with our listeners, as well, because we want you all to be, to feel part of the experience as well. But I just want to say thank you to everyone that's watched this or will be watching it later. Everyone that's supporting the Koalition, check out thekoalition.com with the K. Check out all of our other podcasts, read our articles, subscribe, share, all that stuff. I'm running out of things to say, but this has been great. I don't know if you two have anything else you guys want to share before we really end the show.
No, just thank you for everyone who's been watching.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for your continued support. Stay tuned for more power next week.
That should be exciting. I don't watch the show, unfortunately, and I'm missing out. I understand that I am missing out.
Oh, yeah. It's an excellent show. Yeah. But we'll see what happens in the second half of the season.
All right, everyone. So thank you very much. Have a good night, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is you watch this. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Peace.